Welcome, everybody. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy day on a Monday. Good way to kick off the week, get things started. And kudos to you for actually being willing to spend the time, energy, and effort to explore and learn new aspects of your business, new ways to get business. Rather than and it's very easy to in this marketplace. I've been doing this for 30 years. It's very easy to become a little bit jaded, dour, and like, oh, business stinks and get mad. And, instead of doing that, you're saying, no, I'm going to do something about it. I want to learn new ways to do things. I want to figure out how to adapt and thrive in this marketplace. You're actually taking action. And one of the things that we do in these presentations is all the stuff that we recommend and all the stuff that we teach, we make it actionable. We try and do it in very easy steps and give you step-by-step instructions. So we hope that you find this easy. And again, thank you for joining this. Congratulations, and kudos for taking action. Remember, markets are going to change. I've seen just about most of types of markets over 30 years. And it's really, it's not the market that dictates your fate. It's how you react to the market that makes the difference in what you do. This presentation that we're going to go through is part of a larger presentation that we had on how to get listings in a low inventory market. We took this piece out of it and blew it up because it's very easily actionable. We focused on this because it's something that can make a difference to people literally in 3 months. We've seen people can change their business. So it's a piece of the puzzle. So let's get started. Let's get some of the administrative stuff out of the way. I like to do that early. So when we do these lives, we have agents register for the class so that we can give out handouts, because we invariably in most of the classes do have handouts, different things that you can use, ways that you can action on the class to keep you organized. With this particular class, it's a bunch of scripts that we've found that worked in using this method of getting business. So we will hand that out. And again, usually people will click on this and, scan in through it and register for the class. In this case, make sure your LCA registration is correct, that the information on your email is correct. If you want to, register direct, you can. You don't have to, again, because Labcode takes care of most of that. But you can just screenshot this if you're on your phone and send it to yourself later, and then log on if you want to. And Labcode has a replay of this for those of you who aren't familiar with it. They replay everything on their YouTube channel. They've got a great YouTube channel that you can really find a whole lot of information and view through it. So, again, if you'd like to do that, that's great. If you, and we don't market you to that. So by giving your information here, the only thing we do is tell you when new classes are coming up, basically, and we maybe reach out once a month to see if you need any help with anything in terms of things that we've taught. Okay, having said that, let's move on from that. So we act more as a partnership than a vendor. So vendors come to you, mortgage people, because you're probably figuring, what the hell does a mortgage person know about what we do? Well, I'll get to that in a second. But one of the things that we like to do is help real estate agents grow their brand, their social media presence, using the most relevant content, tips, tools available to get more warm leads and sales conversions as a result of consistent market visibility. And so, by the way, if you're wondering what the hell is a mortgage consultant, what do they know about listings and CMAs or any part of your business? Let me give you a little bit of background. Number one, I started out as a realtor. It was back in the 80s, 90s. So it's a long time ago. But I started out as a realtor and just like you. And at one point I said, I was a DJ through college. I had done that for 10 years. I said, I don't want to work weekends anymore. So a friend of mine was running a mortgage company. I said, yeah, I can do that, and I won't work weekends. Pardon me for all those of you who are laughing in the background, because yes, no realtor ever calls me on a Sunday night at 6 o'clock and says, hey, we have a client that just saw a house they want to make an offer on and they haven't been pre-approved. Can you get that done in 20 minutes? That never happens. But yeah, so laughingly, that's how I got into this. So I started doing mortgages. I worked in-house for 18 years, 19 years actually, inside of real estate agencies. So I got to see all the things that you go through, all the things that you need, what makes you not only tick, but what makes you move forward in business and what your clients need from the real estate point of view. And by the way, this is the whole sales pitch. And I do this up front because I know that when I'm watching stuff on no matter what, I'm waiting for the pitch. So I'm waiting, like, okay, this person's giving me information. What's their angle on it? So I like to do that up front, get it all out of the way. You know where I'm coming from. And that way you can really focus on the information and the content of what we're doing. And by the way, this is all free. I don't have you have to join me and get this stuff. That doesn't exist with me. I give it out there. If you find it valuable, hopefully you'll want to partner with me down the road. And that's really the entire sales pitch. So I had to reinvent myself after 17 years. I left one company and started out, I was no longer in-house. And I said, one of the things I enjoyed doing with that company is I used to help teach the agreement of sale. Because again, I started out as a realtor. When realtors would join that company, I did 2 or 3 of their first real estate deals with them. I actually wrote the agreement of sale with them. So I enjoyed that part. And I said, well, what do agents need? How can we help them grow their business and do that kind of in a class setting? And I found a group that was doing that and joined them. And, that's how we got started doing this. Plus, when I went out on my own, I had umpteen million people call me and say, oh, we can help you grow your Instagram, your YouTube, your Facebook presence. For the low price of, $2,000, $1,000, $500, whatever it was a month. And I was always disappointed. So I started figuring out they're not rocket scientists. Some of them were, but most of them were not. And, why can't we figure this out? And again, we found people who knew what they were doing, who, we could gain access to that information. And now we give it to you. Okay. So, sorry. Let's go back here. So that's the whole sales pitch. That's it. You won't hear any more about that. You need to get a hold of me. Here's all the socials. I use a link card, which I find, pretty good to use. It's very easy. You get me on Facebook. We just had a Google webinar last month, which went over terrifically. You get me on Instagram and YouTube. I don't do X and TikTok. X, I'm just not a fan of. And TikTok, I'm not sure is going to be sustainable. I like it. I'm just not sure how it's going to sustain given the climate that we're in. And we won't say more about that. With that being said, let's get into it. Okay. So where do listings come from? Well, that depends. 75% of home sellers aged 30 to 39 are the most likely to seek referrals. They don't have a world of experience yet. They don't, they haven't done this 3 or 4 times. They're not that well established. So they're going to seek from their peers, friends, and family. They're going to seek referrals. Now, just for some background taken out of we have a database mastery course, which is a phenomenal course that I'm going to talk to Tristan about doing, I think maybe in August. But this comes out of that. So if you have 100 pieces of cold calling, if you cold call 100 people, you're likely to get a 16% response, good response, and maybe get a source of clients from that. Print ads is 18%. Buying leads is 26%. Online ads is 33%. Posting on social media, if you're very good and you become an influencer, you might get 44%. Okay. Referrals, 83%. There's nothing like it. So that's one of the best ways to do that. Now, how do you get referrals? Cultivating your sphere of influence and past clients. It is extremely helpful doing what we're about to do, that you do have some sort of past clientele base and sphere of influence. Now, I will tell you that I am aware that not everybody has that at this point. Some people are new. So we're going to discuss a way to get a sphere of influence in doing this as well a little later on presentation. We'll cover that briefly. Okay, the strategy you are about to learn comes from a guy by the name of Jimmy Berju. He is the Chief Growth Officer at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Beach Properties in Florida. Jimmy's a great guy. He's grown the office from 120 agents to 250 agents. And during that same time, each of his agents, instead of doing an average, they started out doing 5 million a year. They're now doing 8.5. And actually, that was as of 2022. He started doing this in 2018, believe it or not. And at some point later on, transitioned into the growth manager, which I think is a very nice and fancy way to say recruiter. And he passed this on to his agents who have subsequently used that. He's got a great YouTube channel. Highly recommend that you visit that. He's got a lot of good content on there. And kudos to Jimmy for coming up with this. Well, let's see what he did. So here's what Jimmy did. Again, the most important takeaway in any real estate class that at least I know I do is, if you learn nothing else, if you take nothing else away from today, take away conversations lead to contracts. I can't state that enough. It's much harder to get somebody in either a buyer's contract or a seller's contract, a listing contract, if you don't have a conversation. And I know sometimes that's not always easy. This actually gives you a way to ease into the conversations. You never know where a conversation is going to lead. Sometimes the most bizarre conversations can lead to contracts. So here's what Jimmy did. 72 consecutive days. It was actually 90 days. He takes Sunday off and took some holidays off. Jimmy shot one CMA video every day. From that point, what he did is he sent the video to people that he had spoken to over the past couple of years who said that, hey, we're thinking about selling. And he went to a 2-year horizon, and he actually expanded this later on. Jimmy went into even doing this with clients who he had sold a property to a year or two ago, because you don't always know what's going on in someone's life. People buy houses maybe over their heads, and causes a financial strain. They end up getting divorced, and you think, how does that happen in 2 years? Well, 25% of all divorces, sorry to say, happen in the first 5 years. But you never know when you have a conversation with someone. It might be, you call up somebody, you do this, and they say, I'm not ready. We love it here, but I just had a conversation with my neighbor yesterday, and they're thinking about moving up north with their kids again. So you don't know. Conversations lead to contracts. Okay, so he found those people multiple ways, and we'll get to that as well. But those videos created $11.1 million in listings. Out of that $11.1 million, he actually ended up doing $9.2 million in sales, closed sales. Who here thinks that's pretty good? You can put that in the chat, raise your hand in the chat. To me, that's awesome. And he did it, and he's using that today in this marketplace. So would you like to see the exact steps that Jimmy did? Say yeah. Okay. Yep, we're going to get to everything in the video. You're going to see everything he did. Here we go. And we'll show you how to do it yourself. Okay, strategy. Part 1 was database marketing. He specifically pulled the names of anyone, friends, family, people he saw at open houses, past leads, who told them they might sell their house in the next 2 years. So he culled through his database. And again, I don't think I can overemphasize how much a good database, a well set up database, and CRM can help you. And again, we're talking about teaching that this summer. He specifically pulled all those names from that. He focused first on the people that he thought were going to sell more, who thought would be more urgent, more likely to sell. Okay, here's what he did next. He made one video a day. He used BombBomb to create video emails, and he sent them off. And again, he put the recipient in there, sent them off. He used BombBomb for a specific reason, which we'll get there. But again, one video a day. He emailed it to them, and when he emailed it, by the way, you don't have to use BombBomb. There's Loom, Zoom. I've used Canva. I think you can even use YouTube Creator Studio. However it makes it up, as long as it has your face in there as well, make sure you're centered on screen. But if you can record it with your face on there, on that video, then that's what you can use. Doesn't matter, whatever works for you. He put a very, very simple subject line in there. He said, your home valuation, or valuation update, or your home valuation update. And you can do an SEO search for that, see what people are asking. What is my home worth? See what the questions are that they're asking around those. And that'll tell you what you can use for your subject line. Okay, then he used Google Earth. By the way, the thing I like about all this, one of the things I like about it, is it's all stuff you're already using. And the stuff that you're not already using, that you can use, is free. So this is a whole strategy that doesn't involve an investment of money as well as time. It only involves investment of time. Okay, so he uses Google Earth, and here's how he uses it. I don't know if you've used Google Earth, but when you use Google Earth, it starts out as you see the Earth spinning around, right? It turns around, and then you put in an address, and it zooms down to their front door. Now it does that in like 3 or 4 seconds. So, when you open this up, you see the Earth, and then it zooms down. You go, wait, that looks like my front door. That's my house. It's very compelling. And that's why he did it. It's a gimmick. It catches them, but it is, again, it's very compelling, gets people to continue watching. He has that up. He's got 2 other tabs up. One is the MLS, which he does a CMA on their house. It shows, and you can use different CMAs. I'll tell you what Jimmy did, and I found that useful. It shows active, pending, sold. So he's got 3 tabs up while he is doing his video. And he goes the active, pending, sold tabs in the seller's area. He goes through that briefly with them. The next thing he does is a seller net sheet. So when he goes through the MLS and the CMA, he says, based on this, your house is worth, probably between here and here, right? He says, and the genius thing that he does is he says, I don't know exactly. I don't know if you've made any improvements to your house. I don't know what you're doing or what you've done, what's changed in the neighborhood. So a 10-minute visit to your house will allow me to get the exact price that I think it'll sell for, which is great. He doesn't try to sell them when he's doing this. He's not saying, I want you to list with me. All he's saying is, hey, I can tell you what your house is now worth now. And keep in mind, we're in the industry, right? So every week we check what our different neighborhoods are worth. We assume that everybody does that sometimes, which is a mistake on our part. Where they get their information from, that they know this, because it's just like the thing with NAR, right? You've seen how the teleprompter heads, I like to call them, the talking heads on TV, literally, some of them have told people that, hey, wait till August till you list your house. You won't have to pay half, which is so untrue. It's not funny, but this is what people hear. So they hear what people tell them. They don't hear their expertise. This is what you give. This is what you narrow down. You can give them an exact amount that you think that their house is going to sell for. A lot of them are often, very often, surprised because they're not keeping up with it. Okay, so we give them from that. The next tab is a seller net sheet. I don't know about your MLS. We're up on Bright in this area, which I understand has a number of MLSs up there. But usually most of the MLSs have a net seller sheet. And there's other ways to get it if you don't have that, right? They can give you, again, they can give you a really good idea of what the seller is going to walk away with. Now, again, an in on that is, hey, this is just your gross net. I don't know if you've paid down your mortgage. I don't know where you stand with that. I don't know if you refinance. And again, conversations, information leads to contracts. Okay, would you like to see how this looks? Are you supposed to be able to see? Huh. Okay, hold on, let me try that. Sorry, I wasn't aware of that. No. Maybe that's an admin thing. Oh, it's showing correctly now. Awesome. So sorry about that. Don't worry, you'll be getting the slides. My face was not intended to be the biggest thing there. Believe me. So, okay. Would you like to see the video of Jimmy actually doing this? Okay, good. Let's go to that. Let me know if you can see this. Okay, bear with me for a second. We gotta switch highlighters here. Here we go. Okay.
I want to show you basically the couple of things that I tied into. I used Google Earth on this. The reason I liked Google Earth is if I...
Well, first, can everybody hear that and see that? Okay, good. I'll continue with it then.
Start this, you'll kind of see it begins to rotate. There's this 2D portion here. You'll see when I click the 2D portion, it flattens out on top of it, makes it look super high tech. The other tab that I had pulled up was the tab for the sales and the comparable active pending solds for the condo that I was doing. This example was a past client of mine in Adagio, so this will give you an idea of Adagio condos. I'm going to just let this play so you can kind of see this, and I'll stop it to talk about it as we go through.
Hey, Karen, it's Jimmy Burgess with Berju Home Services down at the beach. Just want to check in with you guys.
So notice how this is kind of moving and rotating right here. I'm just reaching out to them. This is the condos. You'll see how I show them the condos, and then I push the flatten out button with the 2D. Just push this 2D button, now 3D button. So I'm showing them. It gives me the ability to really show them visually what we're looking at. They can also see me, which gives that connection there. And then I'm going to just fast forward a little bit to show you kind of what I go to next. The next thing that I go to is that I pull up the comparables. And now I'm just going to walk through. You don't have to remember the comparables. I'm just going to go through and talk about the sales prices, the...
So just to interrupt Jimmy for a second there, if you remember at the very beginning of that, he did something which turned out to be very important. He addresses the person by their name. The reason that this is important, I did this exercise with a realtor in the area, and he wanted to cut down on the time it took to do this. So what he did was, instead of doing each one as an individual video, he did one generalized video to try and kind of make it like it was personalized, but it didn't really come off that way. So people like to hear their own name. Otherwise, they think, oh, this is just a mass email. He's doing this to 100,000 people in the area. This isn't for me. But when you say, hey, Karen, boom, their ears go up. They know this was done specifically for that.
Averages of what things are, give a range of value, and then at the end, what I do, and I just kind of go through these, at the end, then what I do is I just simply say, I hope this is valuable to you, and I want to make sure that you know that I'm here if I can ever help in any way. If you guys are thinking about possibly selling, let me know, and I'll be glad to get you a more distinct value just by doing a quick walkthrough of your place. I did 72 of these. These are folks that I had talked to, that I had built a relationship with. Also, this is my building pipeline going forward with people, because I then put them on the calendar to do another one of these in 6 months. I want to show you.
Okay, so that's what Jimmy did. Pretty cool, right? And he didn't show you, I didn't show you the whole coming from Earth thing, but you'll see that when you do it on Google. It is kind of enthralling to look at that for just a couple of seconds that it's on there. So Jimmy did this. Now
I want to show you.
Sorry, let me go here. So here's what happened. And again, results are going to vary from area to area, but this is literally number one. Know that 80% of the people opened that up throughout time. And this is the reason he used BombBomb, because when you use BombBomb, I believe it's one of the things that it does is it shows you when somebody opens it up, even if they open it up again, they revisit it. And what he found was, because we had spoken to Jimmy, is he said, 2 years after I did that, when the economy changed, he said a whole bunch more people opened it up and said, hey, they must have said, hey, Jimmy sent us what our house was worth a couple of years ago, but let's see what was in there, because maybe they now had to sell, or maybe their situation had changed. So he ended up with like a 98% open rate. It was phenomenal. All right, so let's take a look at this. Again, your results may vary, different areas, different stuff. So it's based on your connections, what your past clientele base is too. So, and I also will tell you that the first 2 or 3 that Jimmy did, it took him a while to do it. I've actually done it, so I understand. First one took me about an hour and a half to get right, what I thought was right. Second one took me a little bit less time. I get to number 5, you've got it down to a formula, you know exactly how to do it. So again, here's the results from Jimmy's 90-day CMA. 72 unsolicited CMAs. 11.2 million listed, 9.1 million sold. Multiply that by the average of 2.5% commission, ended up with $227,000 in GCI. Hello, sign me up. I could use $227,000 in GCI. Okay, so let's break that down. What was our return investment? What did we invest? Well, number one, no money. Really, you're using your email. You're already using your multiple listing service, so you're not spending anything more. Google Earth is free. So you're investing your time, which is valuable, very valuable. So 72 CMAs, $227,000. That breaks down to $3,152 per CMA. 30 minutes it took them. So the total took 36 hours. And again, yeah, you'll invest some time in the beginning to figure out how to do it. So that may change a little bit, but roughly once you get this started, that's what it's going to be. 36 hours divided into $227,000 equals an hourly rate of Bueller. Anybody got their calculators out real fast? Yes. $6,300 an hour. $6,300. That's a lot. So, okay, you might say, to implement one idea, $6,300 an hour is phenomenal, but he's in Florida. It's beach properties. What? I don't live that. I have Delaware. My average sales price is $225 or $200. I may not got that. All valid concerns. Agreed. So if you look at this and only do 25% of that, that's still $1,575 an hour. I know a lot of attorneys that don't make that much. And especially investing no dollars from your pocket. So that's pretty good for that. Just looking at some of the questions, sellers often hone in the commission that sheet and shop for agents who will do the listing for less. So again, sure, that's no different than my business. I teach home buyers directly, direct to the public. So this person's asking sellers often hone in on the commission included on the net sheet. The first thing I'm going to tell you is stop calling it commission. It's compensation. It's not commission. Your compensation is what you've earned. And when you say it as compensation and not commission, commission is something that I have to pay somebody in order to get something. Compensation is what I earned in order to get this job done for you. So we go through the same thing. I show people how to short circuit their credit to get better credit faster. And I get that, but you have to prove your worth. And the reality is you're always going to hit one or two shoppers. And in your case, yes, particularly since the whole NAR thing is blown up and people think that they can get that their realtor for free, which is ridiculous, but it is what it is. But you really show them your worth. Here's what I have found. When you give people your worth, because what people want to do is be led. They want to be led through the transaction. They want to know that you're going to hold their hand for the most part and take them through. I tell them they can get a discount broker. They can always get a cheaper rate than I am. Easy to be done. However, that person has to do more volume because they're cutting the rate. If they have to do more volume, guess what they're not going to have time to do? Lead them through the transaction. Make sure it gets to settlement. That's what you do. And that's the worth that you have to tell them about. Okay? All right. So, again, if you only got 25% of this, $6,300, that's phenomenal. But here's the thing. You have to do the work. There's no shortcut around it. You have to do the work. And if you have to be willing to do the work. The thing I love about this, it's actionable. You get off this webinar, you can go start doing the work. There's nothing preventing you from. So you have to make a commitment, not to me, to yourself, and say, hey, let's try this. This is something that could work for me. This is something that could maybe change the predicament I'm in. You have to be willing to do it. Okay, so would you like to recap the exact steps? You want me to go through it again? Show you exactly how to implement the idea yourself? Okay, 5 things required, basically. Number 1 is people. You have to have a past clientele base who own their home or who you've spoken with, that are thinking about selling. Past clients, leads, sphere of influence, farm contacts, neighbors. And again, we'll show you how to get some more of those. You need an MLS. You've got to show recent sold comparables. That's not hard to do to get together. My expertise is not in Bright or the MLS. I know how to fumble my way around it. And so I do, and I know how it works, but you can do that much easier than I could. Took me a long time. Screen recorder. Again, Zoom, BombBomb, Loom, Canva, YouTube Creator Studio. Any one of them will work. Google Earth. That's easy. And to get that is google.earth.com. I think that's incorrect on there, but I'll start with that. And an email. That's it. Those are the 5 things that you need to implement this. Easy, actionable, can be done at any time. And once you start doing it, like if it's me, I would schedule my 8 to 8:30 every morning. This is what I'm going to do. And at the end, when I'm done it and I email it, I'm going to look for the next person on the list that I'm going to do. I'm going to set that up to do that at 8:30 tomorrow morning. It's a half hour. Listen, a lot of us are complaining that we don't have any business. Well, don't sit around and twiddle your thumbs and wait for it to happen. You can take some action. Believe in yourself and believe that you can do this. Start with the people who are most likely to sell. You already know who they are. And by the way, you're not selling. So, listen, we're in a sales-orientated field, right? But you're not selling. You're simply adding value to the people, to people, right? Your past clients. You're putting yourself in the position so that you may be the first person that they think of when they're thinking of selling. And that's what a lot of this is about, too. You're going to send this out to people go, I'm not ready yet. We're going to wait for rates to come down, which we'll get to that in a second, too. we're going to wait for whatever it is in their life. We're going to start a family in a year, and then we're going to start looking. Great. You know when to put on your calendar to contact them. And that's, again, part of the conversation comes from that. But if you do this and they see that you're reaching out to them to help them, to give them information, when they go to make that move, number one, they're going to have this in their email. So they're going to know, oh, didn't he contact me 6 months ago, or she get a hold of me 9 months ago? And they'll just go back in their email and find it. But they're going to reach out for you. You're going to come to mind. Oops, sorry. Okay. When another good way to get this done, or something like this. Okay. So if you remember on the little video I sent out to Labcode agents, I said, I'm going to show you how to use Zillow for free. Let's turn the tables on Zillow, because Lord knows they've sucked enough money out of us, haven't they? So, and I'm not going to sit there and get into the Zillow debate, but here's a great thing you can do with, I call it the text Zestimate. So you know how you can put on any house, right? And get a Zestimate, right? You can screenshot that to your phone. This is easy. And you send it. So let's say you've got a past client. Screenshot their house, get the Zestimate, screenshot it, send it to me. All you say on the bottom there is, hey, I've got my thoughts on this, but what do you think about the value? Bingo. And you do that through text, because a lot of younger generations don't always open up their emails, but they all open up their texts. So here's an alternative way to do that. And there's specific things you can do with this. So basically, I already told you how it works. You choose a homeowner from your database. And by the way, it doesn't always have to be a homeowner in terms of the house that you choose. So in most neighborhoods, there's the weirdo house. In most neighborhoods, there's the, oh my goodness, how much they over improve that house. There's the house that, have they ever mowed the lawn house? And if it's a development, the builder usually starts out and he does the models, right? The first 2 or 3 houses are the models, and they're really decked out. Everybody wants to know what they sold for, or what their value is. So you can even use that. You don't even have to use a specific homeowner's house. Use that and say, well, what do you think about this one? So it's a good contact, and you can do that through your CRM in your monthly emails to all your clientele base. So a lot of ways to use this, but let's focus on this. So choose a homeowner from your database who you've successfully closed a purchase for. Go to Zillow, search for the property. Let me do this so you can see it again. Go to Zillow, search for the property, screenshot the Zestimate, which is Zillow's estimated value, text the homeowner the screenshot, and message, I have some thoughts about this right now. Here's why it's effective. So Zillow's estimates, even for listed homes, are usually off by about 3.5%. For homes that are not listed, they can be off by 7.5% in a given market. Think about that. The average, the median price of homes now is, I forget what it is, $420, something like that. So this estimate could be off $30,000 or $40,000. What you bring is accuracy. You're the expert in this. This is your marketplace. You know these neighborhoods. So you're bringing them expertise on what the value is of their house. This tactic, this whole thing, costs nothing. Not only does it cost nothing, you can do this in 5 minutes for each one. I mean, how long does it take to do that? You could do, 10 in an hour, 15 in an hour, easily. So, again, a way to start conversations. Very easy tactic. Okay. Who would like a quick tutorial on how to use Google Earth? Yes? Let me look in the chat. Okay, good. We're all good in the chat. Okay. Is that still the same question? Yeah, okay. Got it. Okay, so how to use Google Earth. So it's not as complicated as you think, because I did it. Okay, so what you're going to do is head to Google Earth, which is earth.google.com. That's the best Google Earth that I have found. It will automatically adapt to what you're using now. If you're using it on your phone or if you're using it on a laptop or a big screen, I would tell you for this purposes, I have found it much, much easier to use on a laptop or a bigger screen. The phone, just doesn't work as well for this. I'm not saying you can't do it, just doesn't work well. Okay, so on the top left hand up here, there we go. You will see the search box. It starts out as the rotating Earth. If you put an address in it, and practice with your own address, that's the easiest thing to do. Enter a location. It will zoom into that location. And you can tap on the 2D, the 3D button. You can click the screen if you want to slow it down. You can make it stutter on your way. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can do with this to make it interesting and fun. You can tap the plus and minus sign, which I think is down here. Also, the 2D, 3D is down here. Now, I am aware in just the past few days that Google changed what the dashboard looks like on this a little bit. So I didn't have time to rechange this stuff, but I fumbled through it and figured out where stuff was. It's not that hard. It basically kind of still looks the same, but it has some enhancement to it. Like I said, you can click the screen to pause. This slide was made a little bit on Google. Hang on, let me see if I can do this. Let's see if that's working. Right. So this actually takes you through the procedure. See how it turns? It's pretty cool. It's pretty captivating. Focus is in. There's the plus sign. You go in. You look at the top of the house. Ooh, look, they have a pool. So does everybody else. This must be Florida. Goes in and out. Does that stuff. Again, not hard to use. Try it out with your own address. And you can actually, having some issues or want to learn some more about it, what else you can do with it? Support.google.com. Very easy. Okay. We told you we'd share some other ideas that you could do with this, how to get through some of this, how to get through this period of time in terms where we're not getting a lot of listings. So I'm going to share some quickies with you. Ready? So first, expires. I'm not giving you anything new. I'm not telling you anything that you don't know, but give you a couple different ways to do expired and some tips with it, some pro tips. Number one, I had a realtor turned into a friend who got his career started the first 2 days of every month. Tom would be in there at 7 o'clock in the morning calling expired because he didn't have a clientele base. Eventually, he got enough listings to get a clientele base. And that's how he really enhanced his business and sped up the time that it went to fix. So couple tips. Number one, I would say focus on a geographic area. Don't try and conquer a huge area. We're licensed in different states, but don't try the whole state. It's not going to work. Focus on what you know, because that's what you'll be the expert in. So focus on an area you know. Call early in the morning. So call at 7:30, 8 o'clock. By 8:30, they've already gotten 8 or 9 calls. By 12 o'clock, they've gotten 40 calls and they hate everybody. Be nice to them. Understand the first thing everyone is going to try and do to them is get them to list. They've already been bitten. They listed a house. It didn't sell. That's disappointing. Their dreams and hopes are dashed. Now, again, maybe they had a realtor who was listing it for a cut rate. So they'd give them advice on certain things that you, the expert, who is willing to take the time, will do. And don't worry about giving away free stuff. Give them the advice because, and I'll go into later, but when they list, they will eventually list again. They're likely to list with the person who helped them the most. Be authentic. And that's what we're trying to do. Don't be salesy. Don't even ask them for the listing. Ask them what happened. What do they think that happened? What did the realtor think that happened? Give them some ideas because you'll be able to see the pictures maybe give them some thoughts on what you think could help them. Don't even, just let them know, I'm here to help you. Here's my number. If you decide you want to move forward, please reach out to me. Happy to help. That's it. Don't try and sell them. Now, here's a few tools that can be really helpful when prospecting. Espresso, Agent Vulcan 7, no, Espresso, Vulcan 7, RedX, sorry. They're all systems that you can buy into. They'll help you with expireds and FSBOs. They're all a little bit different. They offer an enhanced services, including CRMs. Some do lead management. Some have auto dialers and help with video marketing. They all do different things. There's nuances between all of them. Choose the one that's best for you. I know that these exist. I know some of what they do. I know that people use them and are having successes with them. But honestly, I can't sit here and tell you, well, I've done this one and that's the one that's the best. It's not something that I use. This is in my conversations with realtors. That's how I came up with this list. But at base level, they all give you expired and FSBO leads. Matter of fact, here's what it looks like. So if you look at this, this is RedX's dashboard. So it takes you through expireds and I think they call them geo leads, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But the phone numbers on here have all been scrubbed against relisted houses, and something that's very important, which you may not always have access to, the do not call list. You don't want to call people on the do not call list. It's $1,000 penalty if they turn you in. You get one warning, that's it. Okay, so again, let's move into something else. The next pro tip on this, let's see what time it is. Oh, okay. Is basically FSBOs. Love FSBOs. So here's the source of potential listings. You can't always access FSBO contact informations regularly or through the MLS because they were FSBOs, they didn't list. But platforms like Vulcan 7, RedX, they have this on there. FSBO sales have gone down in the last number of years. At one point, they were 20% or 18%, something like that. They're now down to about 8%. But still, 8% of, 1 million homes for sale, you can do the math. That's a lot of houses. Now, here's what I love about FSBOs. Statistically, 70% of all FSBOs end up listing with an agent, usually within 30 days of them starting out as a FSBO. So if it's myself, I'm going to contact them at the beginning of week 2. And again, I'm not going to try and sell them. I'm not going to ask them to list with me. That's what everybody's doing. I'm going to look at what they're doing and offer them help. So here's the most difficult task for FSBOs. 12% is preparing the home for sale. They don't have a realtor. They don't know that you have to declutter or repaint some stuff or take care of all the stuff that's laying on the lawn. They don't know that. Again, chances are it might even be their first home. So they haven't done this before. They've never sold a home. And you can call them and help them with that. 10%, and I'm very surprised about this, I thought it would be more than that, is understanding the paperwork. Sure, you can get an agreement of sale from Staples. Understand the agreement of sale? Much different. Every state has different rules and regulations. I think, this should be a much higher, percentage in terms of understanding the paperwork. I think if you were to add in here the process, it would jump up tremendously because they don't understand the process. They haven't done it. They don't know the state rules. They don't know your area rules. They don't know, what people expect from them. So they fail. These are things you can help with. Getting the price right. Yeah, they're probably going by their estimate, which you and I just showed was usually wrong by 7.5%. You can set them right and give them the comps. And again, give it to them. What happens in the worst case? You give them enough advice that they sell the house on their own. That's your worst case scenario. Guess what's usually going to happen? they're going to refer you to other people. Or better yet, when they go to buy a house, if they're selling, they're usually buying another one, they're going to think about you for their realtor because you help them, no strings attached. So that's my advice on that. Okay, here's another really cool idea. And we're almost at the end here. For those agents who don't have, remember I promised you, for those agents who are just starting out, don't have much of a sphere of influence, number one, you can use the texting Zestimate. That works well. But if you don't have a big sphere, take this and apply. So I'm going to assume a lot of you weren't here for 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? Well, during 2000, started the middle of 2007, went all the way through 2011, was the mortgage meltdown. One of the things that happened in the mortgage meltdown, particularly in the beginning, 2008, 9, maybe 10, and at the end of 2007, is the types of loans that people were defaulting on were quote unquote outlaw. Everybody stopped using them. So banks weren't recognizing. There were banks that closed down. It was pretty bad. Banks closed down, mortgage companies closed down, real estate brokerages closed down. The unemployment rate went a lot higher. So it was a very difficult time. But here's one of the things that happened. The banks and the mortgage companies that had used these particular, called no docs, but there's also different names for them, use these programs that weren't allowed anymore, they had to buy those loans back from the people they sold them to. So guess what? The people they sold them to and themselves were doing fire sales on these non-performing loans. So, houses that were selling for 300,000, people were getting it 225. Those people who were still employed, had the advantage of having some cash to put down, had good credit, were getting very good deals on these houses. Lots of times they turned them into investments. Sometimes they lived in them for a while and then kept them as investments. So they got these houses at fire sale prices. And we're not talking a small amount. There was a good amount of houses. I was doing this during that period. I remember it well. So you do some research through your MLS. All right. You can find out houses that were sold during this time period. Bring them up. Note the date and the purchase price. Then click on public records. See if the home is sold since then. Okay. If it's still there, you can run a fast comp, do something really quick, and then do the CMA that we spoke about. And you don't even have to do the one that we spoke about. You can just email them with a CMA, and follow up with a letter, which is on our list. I see you bought your home for $225,000. Today, here's some comps. It might sell for 480,000, 550, whatever that is. So when you do that, it piques their interest because they don't know. Keep in mind, they don't do this. They hear housing prices go up, but they don't know what it's worth. You do. You're the expert. So I sent you an email yesterday. You can do the CMA, send them an email, send it on by email, and then send them a follow-up letter, snail mail, which people get. And actually, a lot of people now appreciate because they don't get it often enough. And basically for the right price, would you consider selling? Okay, so that's another idea, actionable, easy. You can do it right away, very quick. It continues the relationship with these people. Again, I hope you found this valuable. There we go. So was this valuable for you? Raise your hand if you're really thinking about implementing this in the next day, 2 days. Give yourself a time limit, but try this out. It's easy to do. It's, like I said, not complicated, and people are getting results doing this. We're seeing that. So if you need some help with this, there's a way that I or your current mortgage consultant can help. Oftentimes people's beliefs about, again, what they can sell for, and half the people holding on to the 3.5% loans right now are holding on because they don't think they can afford something more or don't want to. Again, they're not willing to move up because they don't think that they can do this. They don't think they can afford it. and they base that on mythical stuff they hear rather than factual. So we do the numbers for them, and you're a current loan consultant, and you can do the numbers too. But rather than being based on assumptions, we say to people, this is what you can do today. So we have these conversations. I'm working with agent partners now with potential to structure conversations. We call them move up analysis. So we do a move up analysis for them. And, again, if you want to learn more about move up analysis, which shows them actual numbers rather than numbers that they think are there, please reach out to us. If you found today valuable, again, I would ask you if you could, because everything today goes by reviews. So if you like what you heard today, you found it valuable, give us a review. Let us know what you thought about how the day went. You can snapshot this and again, scan it in there. If you'd like more help, please reach out to us. We are talking to Labcode agents currently about doing more classes. We will let you know when they're coming up. Let's see if we have anything in the chat. Yeah, so if your name went on there, we will send the templates out. So be advised, we'll absolutely do that. Happy to do that. And the recording goes on. So Labcode Agents actually has their own YouTube channel too. It's probably under Labcode Agents. I don't have it in front of me, I'm sorry. But go into YouTube and just search for Labcode Agents. It'll show up. It takes about a day or so, I think, to get on there, and you can do the whole replay on there. And again, thank you very much. We appreciate your time. Our time is now pretty much up. Is there any other questions that people have that want to reach out? Okay. Oh, there it is. Thank you, Mom. So it's in the chat if anybody wants to see where the YouTube is. And there's a great amount of information. I can't tell you, this is why I joined Labcode Agents, and I'm happy to do these for them, because it's really helpful, well set up how they do this. You can get just a ton of information, and you can watch 4 videos on the same subject too, which I love. Okay, I think that's it for now. Thank you very much for coming, and again, we'll probably have another one in July and one in August, and we hope to see you there. Everybody, have a great day and great week. Take care.